Welcome, Jess, to another
Hello.
edition of Won't Be Silent.
Super excited to be here. Um, Abe is incredible. I'm honored and I'm flattered that I'm here with him today.
Oh, please. Tell us where you are, who you are, and what's the current mission on Earth?
Where am I? I am in Londanistan, formerly known as London. I
Yeah.
am unfortunately in the epicenter of all of the rubbish going on in Europe right now. Um, but I am thugging it out. I'm battling it out. I'm still here. Um, I am 30 years old. I have been a fierce advocate for Israel for the last 18 months. Prior to that, I'm now chronically online. Prior to that, not, I was not at all. I kept a very private life, but when October the 7th happened, I was scrolling on TikTok and I came across a terrible pro-Palestinian platform that was really enjoying what was going on, and it was going on at the time. And they were really enjoying the massacre taking place. And I could not, very much like you, Abe, I could not stay silent. I refused. Um,
Right.
so I went up on that panel. I screamed like there was no tomorrow. I came off of it and I said to my sister, this is my calling. I'm here. This is
Great.
what I need to do. And ever since then, I have been advocating for Israel, for the Jewish people. I've built an incredible platform. I've been working really hard. And although this is not my full time career at all, I've found a real passion in it. And it stems from my love and my luck of being Jewish and how much I appreciate Israel.
I mean, you are such a good spokesperson because you're so detailed and so calm. And I don't know how to bleep out the H word and the whatever, but like, that's why my views, I don't quite get the views because I'm like, those fucking Hamas, whatever. But yeah, we're dealing in a moment where I'm sure there's like that in London too, but the self-hating Jews that are just kind of anti-Israel, these kind of anti-Zionist Jews. I mean, honey, they're going to be on the train right along with us. Like
This is what I
these
always say.
capos wannabes mindsets thinks that they're going to be forgiven because they sided. It's almost like, and I kind of can't wait to see that. You know what I mean? I'd like to see you suffer on the train, bitch, because it's because of you we're here.
Yeah,
It's because of the weaklings that so much of what we're seeing is going on. It is because of the propaganda that Qatar has enabled our universities
yeah,
that they're propagandized. And I said something really interesting yesterday, if I do say so myself, but that whole controversy that's happening with the No Other Land director that was arrested, and that,
yeah,
so there's like three sides to every truth anyway in life, so nobody knows who to believe. But of course, the movie industry here, especially the indie movie industry, is very pro-Palestine,
yeah,
and there's big blowback. And everyone on this chat that I'm with was like, "Oh my God, this is." I said, first of all, we have to come from we can't be fatalists. That's
yeah,
number one. And number two, you're not going to tell me that the movies that Leni Riefenstahl, whatever, is made during the Nazi propaganda, which enabled that to flourish, is anywhere near. Is that's No Other Land is like a blip.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So put it all in context.
yeah. The thing I struggle with the most, right, going back to the capos, is firstly, capos during World War II were trying to save their lives. Even though they were traitors, they were ultimately being told by the Nazis that if they did what they did, they would save themselves. So, in some ways, I think that capos is too kind of a word for the anti Jewish Jews who have literally turned their backs on us for no good reason. They're not saving their lives. They know that if tomorrow Hamas invaded wherever they lived, they wouldn't be spared because they're anti Zionist Jews. Hamas won't go through their social media and say, oh, they posted a Palestine flag.
Oh, you were a good Jew. I want to try to do a post. I'm not fancy with that, but if Glenda the Good Witch would like come down in her bubble and go,
Yeah,
are you a good Jew or a bad Jew?
it's just like it's a fairy tale, and it's like these people have turned their backs on what it means to be Jewish, and I cannot compute it one bit. So
Right.
that's, you know, that side of things. Then the other side of things with this no other land and we just don't know at this point what is and what isn't real. So when that story came out that he'd been beaten up and he'd been kidnapped by an ambulance, or, you know, it was so far-fetched. And then you look at the videos of him afterwards, and you look at
And
the
he
video,
looks fine.
he looks fine, he's absolutely fine. And then you look at the videos of what was happening prior to him being arrested, and you see him throwing stones. And if you
Right.
throw a stone at a policeman in the UK, I'm going to get arrested. It's
Right.
really that simple. And people seem to think that because they're Palestinians, they can get away with this degree of violence because they're resisting oppression. But
Yeah.
ultimately, that wouldn't stand anywhere else in the world.
Right.
And then,
I mean, there's such victims of their own victimhood, and it just puts. I mean, I have so little tolerance for it. I am so kind of enraged by the fact that I have to think and say that I'm glad my parents are not alive to see this. The fact
yeah,
that is something that I have to say is angers me as much as just what I'm seeing,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But look, I have to believe that I'm spiritual enough to know that this too shall pass.
yeah.
And I mean, again, that's not like it's not going to happen here, but I just think that the moment we're in, it's almost like everything is revealed. It's like it's the best part of what this whole thing is now is that we see all the rats have come out from under the ground. We know who the enemy is, even if they're Jews. They're your enemy. And how do you deal with enemy into the best way possible without compromising your soul? You know, like I'm not going to go and pick up arms and go, you know what I mean? But
I hope not. You never
I'll
know with
let you
you.
know. You'll be the first. But it's all part of this moment that it's all coming to a head. And then for me, in terms of just personally, having been invited to run for the World Zionist Congress is this great opportunity to be reconnected once again with my father's legacy, which was, hero extraordinaire, and as well as my mother. But the Congress is very specific to my dad, and we have had a very distant kind of ending of our relationship. He died very young. So this is like a passion, and if it comes to fruition, it'll be great. But it's almost like it's part of the journey. So it's the journey part that's great and feels really good, which is why the other things that are not working in my life, which are just a few big ones, but this more takes me through each day,
Yeah.
and this is where I'm grateful. But yeah, so I'm with the Jewish Future, which I love the title of it, which is why when they invited me to it, I'm like, yeah, I want to be part of the Jewish future here, because girl, we need it.
Okay.
I think I'm the only one that's kind of speaking like that as we promote this platform, but whatever. But
I'm the same.
yeah, yeah. So tell me, how do you see this thing spacing out in England specifically? I mean, would you
I
leave?
I mean, I'm a forever optimist, right? And I like to see the good in people. But that patience that I had at the beginning is running very, very thin now, to the point where I'm starting to realize that my optimism and my glass half full nature has been amazing my whole life, but might not be the best thing right now. Um, I I don't see at least England being in a repairable situation. Um, it is so bad here that I don't want to, that the country has been completely overtaken. It has lost its Christian values. And Christian values are something that the Jews were really happy to integrate into. We really loved it. I'm a second class, not second class, God, I'm definitely not.
Second
I am
generation.
a second generation Brit, and my family came here beyond grateful to be here, and they integrated and they worked hard and they love this country. And unfortunately, what's happened is there's no longer that love. And I think it's too far gone here, and that breaks my heart.
Where were they from?
I've got a real mix. So my dad is Austrian and Russian, and then my mum is Afghan and Iranian. So
okay.
a whole cocktail. But you know, we have always been incredibly happy to integrate into a Christian country.
Right.
This country no longer feels that it has the Christian values that it had when I was growing up. Even when I was growing up, it was safe, it was beautiful. There was none of this like wokeism that is like everywhere here in the UK. You talk about like these, you know, these anti-Zionist Jews, the leftists, the far leftists are running rampant in London. You have no idea
Really?
how woke and how crazy it's become. Thankfully, I live in a very peaceful part of London that is very much out of the way, so I don't have to look at any of those protests over the weekend. But my God, if I did, I would not feel very comfortable as a Jewish woman, and I don't feel very comfortable as a Jewish woman going into central London, because you just don't know what
Right.
actually happen.
I lived in London in 2014, I believe, for 6 months. And even back then, the weekend protests were like, we were like flipping out, you know,
Yeah.
that was like 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Yeah. And that was nothing. Over the last year and a half, I have never seen more protesting, and in their hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions. These are mass protests that are so pre-orchestrated and so well organized that you have to wonder who the hell is funding it. And it's very similar to like American colleges. We know who's funding it, because these are crazily well orchestrated, even so much so that on October the 7th at midday, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign here in the UK put in a request for a protest the following weekend, because here you have to ask for permission to protest. And they put that in at midday on October the 7th. So the massacre was still taking place. This is how orchestrated this all is. And
no. I mean, we're dealing with a very smart, very savvy, very sophisticated marketing, better than Israel, better than Jews, better than Democrats, better than Republicans, although Republicans manage to always be able to stay on message. So they are always going to kind of get the point through. But yeah, I think that there's not going to be a lot of options to get rid of this. I mean, what do you do? You know what I mean? Without saying you know, if one other thing, if anyone's going into a concentration camp, it ain't the Jews. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And it's not going to be the Latino community either, because they are contributing members to society in this country. And I think if you're going to pull anybody off the streets, and I don't care how arrogant that sounds, and I don't care if you block me, and I don't care about any of that anymore, you know. And since October 8th, my TikTok community has been got the algorithm, who is probably wearing a friggin' babushka as we speak, you know, minimizes my content. I used to get major engagement. It was mostly anti-Trump stuff, but now that I just got out of the political fray after the election, I don't want to talk about politics right now. I want to talk about how do we save our people.
Yeah.
Hello.
See, for me, mine's very different. My algorithm, I joined TikTok to talk about Israel, so my algorithm has stayed really consistent. But also, when you live in the UK and you go live, within 3 minutes, you've got 300 terrorists watching. Wow. England is rampant with terrorist supporters as well. They're everywhere and no one does anything about it. So my platform grew very quickly because I was hosting a live where I would talk on my own, and I would get the most ridiculous engagement just because of who would come and watch. So I've been very lucky that my platform's been really consistent with engagement, and it's grown sort of every day. So much so that now, you know, my friends in America will ask me to open accounts for them because they'll get
Oh,
England engagement, they'll get the UK engagement.
really?
So it's crazy here. It is absolutely crazy. If push comes to shove and anything really got bad, thank God we have Israel. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this whole threat that's going on with the end of democracy here and Trump and whatever, and like, you know, believe me, for whatever he is trying intentionally, theoretically, kind of conversationally doing for Israel, I'm grateful for. I've actually lost friends for saying that, which is really upsetting, like longtime friends, not just friends.
Yeah.
But like, I don't care, you know, when push comes to shove, it's, you've gotta know who your real, the ones that will protect you from getting stabbed in the back, you know.
Yeah.
And it's eye-opening, and nothing really new. I mean, I think it's a continuation of a different life lesson every single time. This time it just happens to be a Jewish life lesson, you know. But I'm really, I just think that this just can't meander like this. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully the Qatar funding will kind of be minimized here. Like, the only hope America could have, see, I don't think America would ever get as bad as England, Europe, that as, and I think that as long as that threat is there, like, the Republicans will always stay in power here to kind of minimize that, because the Democrats are like, yeah, girl, come on, I'll wear what color babushka should I wear?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
which is so unfortunate because I've been a devout Democrat my whole life up until November 6th, when I was like, bitch, bye.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's firstly, I find it bizarre that you lost friends over saying that, because I find American politics so complex in comparison to the UK. Like, here, I will proudly say that I voted Reform, which is like the furthest right party, yeah. But I have friends, like best friends, who voted Labour, and we would never let that come between us. American politics is very touchy. So
Yeah.
and I don't know why. I think it's really sad. But our Labour government right now is about as Joe Biden as you could get when he was no longer really in control. That's how, you know,
Right.
right now. We are housing migrants in 5-star hotels, giving them a salary, giving them healthcare, which obviously we all get healthcare, but they get priority healthcare now. And these people hate the UK. They hate it. They hate us. They don't like us. They want to impose Sharia law. They want to bring what they fled from to this country. And our Labour government lets it happen. And we bring in thousands of migrants a day. And they take our resources. And I'm not surprised that you've seen the rise of the Reform Party, and you've seen British people, second generation Brits, first generation Brits, and then your old English people saying enough is enough. And I worried for the US with Biden that you were kind of going that way. So whilst I'm kind of impartial on Trump, I'm not American, I can't really speak on it, but I can acknowledge that with Trump in power, you won't end up like us.
No. And I think, you know, I think the people behind him are the Christian extreme, and I don't think that's any cozy place to end up either, you know. But as long as they're up for the rapture, you know, as long as all they care about is the rapture, honey, I don't think I'll be alive when that happens. But it's very unfortunate, because it's a matter of changing your, you know, how many times can you like rechange your mindset? You know, I've been like an activist my whole life for the common good, for, you know, social justice, and I was bused to an all-black high school, so I felt other my whole life because I was Jewish and was raised initially in a town, I was one of the only Jewish families, so I was on the receiving end of being other. So I knew that, and I know that, and I've always had that compassion for that. That's why I was so heartbroken when I felt abandoned. My best friend is a Black guy, and he just is not political at all. So that's how he's just like, you guys figure it out, because I don't want to lose my friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, which
Yeah.
is fine. But, the thing is, I can see where there's nights that he and I don't hang out when he's with people that are, of Muslim descent. So
Yeah.
I'm not welcome. Like, I
Yeah.
know that. I don't care. But the other sad thing is that a Muslim friend of ours, mine and my husband, a mutual friend, introduced us, and we don't no longer talk to that person. So this is just so breakdown of community. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm so grateful to have found myself in this Jewish community, which would have been the last thing I wanted to do, because when you're an assimilated Jew, Jews are like not cool,
Yeah.
But now it's like the cooler I feel is the more connected I feel to the community. So that's
One.
like owning this lib. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, but the fact that, and we had inside intel on the Biden administration, because my sister's very good friend's daughter worked with him and Kamala in the National Security Department, and she was like, you know what I mean? And her grandparents are Holocaust survivors, and there was nothing she could do.
Yeah.
The cat was out of the bag in there, and there was no holding back.
Yeah. I don't know when politics became so rubbish. I was actually speaking about this at Shabbat dinner last night with my family. We were saying, when did politics get this crazy? These people are supposed to effectively run our countries, and we trust them. And it seems like in the last 10 years, governments have completely lost their way. And that's for all sides of the spectrum. I mean, we had a conservative government prior to this Labour government. They were also terrible. And we've lost complete faith in the judicial system here in the UK. I don't know when people got this woke and this crazy and this conscious and this diversity and inclusion, and they put it over and above the sort of people that live in their country that need help. I don't know what's happened to this world.
Well, the hilarious thing about DEI here in America is, in the last days of the Biden administration, Jews were allowed to be considered part of the DEI. So then 2 minutes later, Trump comes in and it's like, forget it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's almost like that episode, The Godfather Part 3. Every time you go in, you want to go, you can't get in. Anyway, but again, it's like we're all here to battle for our loved ones and ourselves, and that's where the fight has to begin. And then when I just think that my dad, after surviving the gulags of Siberia during the war, rather than choosing to go to the warm weather where everyone else was going, chose to join the underground to like fight to save people. It's like, so that's like, those are the decisions we make. That's why when people say, I don't know if I can handle it, if I would survive that, I mean, we never know until we're at that point of reckoning. I would just like to think that's in all of our DNA as Jews. Like and so many Jews in America are afraid. They're just like flat out afraid. And I keep going, we come from Moses, we have spines of steel. We can get through anything. And when you look at it in that context of position of strength, yeah, it all sucks. And yeah, I'm going to lose friends. And yeah, I may get attacked on the street, whatever, I used to get attacked for just being gay in New York City back in the 70s. I mean, all conflict on the streets is nothing new, but now it's getting very personal. And now it's time for, okay, here is the line in the sand.
This is why I think it's so important that there are people like me, like you, who are very outspoken, relentlessly, fearlessly, unapologetically, because there are a lot of Jewish people who are scared, and I get a lot of messages saying that they sort of, I'm their voice. Thank you for vocalizing what I'm internally feeling. And we're all scared. I just don't show my fear. There's obviously sort of at the back of my head, there is what the hell is going on in this world. But I don't let that stop me from using the big Jewish gob that my mother gave me. And that's why I do this. I don't do this for me. I don't do this for money. I don't do
Right. I'm like, yeah, I'm not monetizing either.
like I make nothing from this. I do it because I care about the Jewish people. I bloody love Israel. And I will not at least not in my name, I will not let there be another blood libel that turns into something like the Holocaust again. No way.
No, it's not happening. I'm not saying it's not gonna, not like they're not gonna try, but when I moved into the city in the 70s and I was gay, I was living with my boyfriend walking on the Upper West Side, which was back then like West Side Story West Side, not like the gentrified West Side that you see now. And we would get like confronted all the time by homophobics, and we were told to carry, which I will tell anyone who's at university campus or whatever, a Phillips #1 Phillips head screwdriver.
Yeah.
Because it's not illegal. It's not considered a weapon, and you can be definitely do a little damage, Miss Thing. Anyway, and like, far be it. Like, do what you got to do. Like, I might have, but then again, it's almost like, I also think that it's less than we know, because the algorithm and all social media is just showing that. But I think it's less than we believe. That's why I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
And I mean, even though in England you got some friggin' scary ass. I've seen some of those, like, well, they're all gay, by the way. Oh,
I know.
Cut to, they're all gay. That's why they wrap their women up in the schmata. Don't let her. They're not interested in seeing her. They're just wankers so that they can have more of those brats. I'm not interested. Yeah, they're all gay. My friend who introduced my husband and I said, in Morocco, honey, they can all be had.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that as well. But it's really interesting that they're all gay. And then you also see a lot of the pro-Palestinians in this country are from the LGBTQ community. My youngest sister, is in the LGBTQ community herself, and she's had a really hard time over the last 18 months because she's been grappling with, she loves Israel, she's a Zionist, she supports this, but all of her friends, every single one of her friends, are the opposite. So I don't know how this has happened. I just don't.
Well, the first step is, and one of the things as part of our mission as the Jewish future, is to repositioning the word Zionist. I mean, the thing about the N-word, that it's now like the N-word, the thing is, the N-word was co-opted by the Black community to take the power out of it. It's no longer a slur. They say it to themselves, they own it, and it's kind of like a term of endearment.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do in our community, to take the power out of the negative of being a Zionist. Like, just recently, I have to show you this. My mom died in 2002. And she always wanted her story told, survivor from Dachau. She was part of the ex-concentration camp orchestra, blah, blah. Anyway, before she died, she was working with a ghostwriter to get her story done, and nobody knew about it, whatever. And we just found it. And it's like, and it's all this, with me and my nephew, who's a writer also, are going through it to kind of like figure out what to do with it. It's horribly written.
Yeah.
But it's
terrible. Her life story.
Horrible. No, the story's good. Yikes. Anyway, but even this, as a donation to a museum, as like an artifact, this is cherishable. What we end up spitting out is going to be something a little different. But everything in this one, which I don't remember her speaking like that to us, because she's been gone for a long time now. She only wanted to go back to the land of Zion. And that's the innocence and the beauty and the simplicity of what Zionism.
Yeah.
And although it's been politically charged and co-opted, and again, when you have oodles of money from Qatar to make a word bad, it's gonna, like, you can do it in a minute. So I believe that we have to have a cohesive plan to change that as a step. A first step, not the only step, but at least something should be. I'm posting that all the time. Like, you called me Zio, thank you.
Yeah. I always say this as well. It's none of these people actually know the definition of Zionism, and this is what I always challenge them on, because they have this co-opted, warped perspective of what it is. But literally, all they have to do is look up the word in the dictionary to know what it is. It's defined. It's in the Oxford Dictionary. It's in the Cambridge Dictionary. It doesn't take much research, and it is what it is. And they have co-opted this word and turned it into something awful, and that's on them. And I don't let that affect me, because it's nothing more than an opinion, in my opinion. And so when someone comes to speak to me from the pro-Palestine side and comes at me with you're a filthy Zionist, and I ask them what Zionism is, and they give me this whole spiel about how it's white supremacy and settler colonialism and all of this rubbish malarkey, I ask them where they learned that definition. Where did they find that out from? And they say, oh, we've spoken about it in our communities. And I say to them every time the same thing. Would you go to a Democrat and ask a Democrat what a Republican is? Or would you go to a Republican and ask a Republican what a Democrat is? They would give you a warped perspective, because they're opposition. They would not give you the honest definition. So rather than going to anti-Zionists and asking them what Zionism is, come to a Zionist. Come to one of us and we'll tell you. But
I think you're being too kind.
I am too kind.
You're being too kind. Here it is. From the river to the sea, be careful what you wish for.
Preach.
Because we will be free of Palestinians if you don't shut the fuck up and let those hostages out. You want to live free? So do we.
Yeah.
You don't want, then hasta luego.
Preach.
And and again, and if they say you're what Zionist did you say?
Zionist, I've had everything. Zionist filth, Zionist pig.
Just say
Zionist shill.
I am. Thank you for the Zionist part. The other thing doesn't apply. You just fuck them. You know what I mean? But the Zio thing has to be like a badge of honor. Like we have to start wearing buttons. If we're willing to wear a Jewish star, then you have to always.
Oh,
you gotta get that.
No, don't worry. Don't worry.
Anyway, so of course we're on the same page, and just to let you know that because you're so eloquent and you're so much of a kind of educator as you speak about your support for Israel is what attracted me to you and track you down, and I'm glad I did, by the way.
Thank you. I try my best. It's hard because I want to, there's so much that I'd love to say that I can't say on TikTok. And I would love to go so much further into my thoughts and my beliefs, but I live in the UK. So I can't be too politically incorrect, but there is so much more that I have on my chest that I would love to say. But here it's just not feasible. If I were to make Aliyah, believe me, my opinions, you'd hear all about it.
Right.
You know?
Speaking of politically correct, I'm going to send you an article that I wrote yesterday for my Substack.
Please do.
It's called The End of Political Correctness.
Love it.
I'm so proud of this. I'm going to send it to the chat. It's really, it's too long to sit here and read, but it's based on, in 2010, I used to have a very popular blog in New York City. And that was when the economy had kind of gotten into the shitter and whatever, and everybody was trying to be politically correct. And I was like, I am not going to speak like this. The handwriting was on the wall. So I introduced the concept of this thing. I repost the thing word verbatim, didn't change one word. And then I wrap it up. And it's really just the fact that we saw the handwriting on the wall. we didn't do anything about it. We
Yeah.
are here because of laziness, lack of actually any kind of leadership that would have kind of shifted the narratives,
Yeah.
you know? And yeah, so here we are. This is just where we have to kind of muck through the kind of the quicksand of ignorance and hatred. And it's as simple as that.
I also I hear what you're saying with us being here because of laziness and because of, but I would actually say it's probably more naivety, because we didn't allow this war to happen, right? But in many ways we did, because, and I read an article about it today, in many ways we thought that the Palestinian people were like us, and they're not. They're built different. They've been for 100 years taught to hate us. We have been taught for 100 years that we are going to have to get on with our neighbors, and how can we make peace, how can we build bridges, and they've had the polar opposite. So perhaps we've allowed this to happen through naivety, through hope, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a little too, yes, of course, because that's how you feel. But I feel like that's where naivete is also lazy, because it
Yeah.
sounds, you're lulled into this kind of dreamy, like Obama era kind of la-di-da, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And
So
we have,
yes, it's naivete because we turn over our power to others. And
yeah,
when during the Obama administration, as much as we loved him here in America, what was going on behind the scenes with Israel was just why we're here. So
yeah,
everything kind of leads in that direction. But you know what? We've survived thousands of years. We'll be here for thousands of years.
yes,
And, you know, and unless the Christian right here in America gang up with the Muslims to take us down, which I don't see happening, because everyone kind of equally that, like, they'd kill each other first and then we'd be like, see, we're left standing, whatever.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
crazy.
again, it's just, it's unfortunate that this is how we meet, why we met, but then again, I'm glad we met, and
I'm
I'm
glad.
grateful for whatever spins through this, and whether it ends friendships, ends marriages, I don't care about any of that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I want to
yeah,
know that I died trying to be the best person I can be, and now the best you I can be. And
yeah.
if that's not something you want to be around, toodles.
Bye. Literally. I, for me, it, like, here's the door right here. You're welcome to leave. Don't let it hit you on the way out.
Either
I,
that or you can drop dead right here and now and I'll throw
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
I
help
don't
you. Don't
care.
worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I just, amidst all of this rubbish over the last 18 months, and it's rubbish, amidst all of that, what has blessed us the most, and it was an unexpected blessing, is that firstly, the pro-Palestinians have made us all 5 million times more Zionist.
Right.
That's the first thing. Second thing, it has brought together the Jewish community in a way that I've never seen in my lifetime. I've never been this connected to my Judaism. I was the furthest thing from connected. I used to call myself Jewish. Now I'm
Right.
ultimate, like I'm a super Jew. And all of my friends, we've come back together because we have this mutual understanding that we only really have each other, and that's been a blessing.
Yeah.
So all of this rubbish has had a positive effect on the Jewish community, even in the midst of what seems like the worst time for the Jews. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's almost like you want to be that same naive person, but say it in a way like, this isn't the worst time. This is ultimately the best time, because we're back together, because
Yeah,
we see the forest from the trees, where we're no longer lulled into a sense of false security, where we're each identifying our own personal strengths and weaknesses, but where the strength towards this better outcome and how we can participate in that. I mean, that shit's beautiful, you
yeah,
know? And yeah, so again, you know, there's strange bedfellows that would be who go to fight wars against, and then there's fellows that we find on the journey, you know,
Yeah.
and thankful that happened. But I want to read you before we go, unless you have anything specific you want to ask.
No, read me.
I'm going to read you. Did I read this to you already? No.
No, I don't think
The
so. You
last
haven't read me
paragraph.
anything.
Oh,
I feel honored. Read.
so this is my book, Won't Be Silent, which is a whole other story. I'm going to send you one. I'm going to send you an audio book, or would you prefer the PDF?
Audio.
Okay, you got
Yeah.
it. So, you know, you always have to write the last chapter before you go in. That's what I was always, you know, taught. And so when I first wrote this, it was 2020, right? So based on that and where we are now, so just the quick skinny into the end. The Won't Be Silent community is something that I've been very kind of passionate about. It started as a result of the Nazis marching in Charlottesville. And that is how I started a community. I started working on a film with that about speaking up against oppression and never let yourself be marginalized. And that was the concept. Through that, we filmed amazing stuff. I'll send you the video too. And then COVID happened. So we lost funding. We had to stop filming, but we were stuck in our homes. It was 2020. And what better way to say I won't be silent rather than putting this whole thing to bed is by voting. So that's how I got very engaged with. That's how I built my hundreds of thousands of TikTok community. All pro voting. It's an awesome community.
Amazing.
So this is how it ends. The extraordinary Won't Be Silent community that has emerged through the project. The extraordinary Won't Be Silent community that has emerged through this project with this message of hope that rose from the ashes of the Holocaust will help build a brighter future so another Holocaust won't happen. Despite this latest crop of misguided, propagandized, terrorist-loving, helicoptered, far-left, democracy-abandoning lemmings and assorted Islamist anti-Semites threatening to wipe out the Jews, trust me, they will not win in the end. Yet, don't sit on your laurels, kids. Our work has just begun. The forces of evil that brought my grandparents to their violent, unfortunate deaths, coupled with what my parents had to endure, are not that far off on the horizon. If you squint hard enough, you can see the foreshadows of an America you won't recognize. Lord knows, we already hear mumbling, rumbling, and the drumbeat of a new kind of war by evil factions here and abroad, which is why we can't, must not, and won't be silent. And then it says, definitely not the end. And here we are, fucking at the end.
You are iconic. Iconic. I love it. And it's so, it like sums up everything that we're all feeling right now in one paragraph. I love it.
Yeah, I do have to read. I didn't read it in the context that I said it because it's a joke, but there's a joke written right in the middle of it, which says, let's face it, if Jews are meant to be wiped off the face of the earth, we would not have survived 40 years in the Sahara Desert after being slaves in Egypt building those fucking pyramids. The constipation from the matzah alone would have taken us out.
Preach. Preach. Oh my God. No, but it's so like people don't understand what's going on right now is nothing but a blip in our history. We have survived the Holocaust, Egypt. We have gone through the most horrendous of atrocities. We've always come back
the
strong.
Inquisition.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We have gone through more
the
than
pogroms,
the exiles to the all four corners of the globe, and the jizya and the dhimmi status and everything that we've gone through. What is happening right now is a blip, and if people think that this will be the end of us, they are delusional, because we have got much worse.
If you think a few thousand unshowered brats who have been helicoptered by their pretentious families to be anything you do is fine kind of mindset is going to wipe us out, think again.
This is what I always say. They have smelly breath. They haven't showered in 2 weeks. they've got hairy armpits and blue hair, and they really and they think that they're gonna wipe me out. They're gonna wipe themselves out with germs.
Yeah.
You know, these people.
You know, and the thing is, you know, for somebody who watched and marched for gay rights in the 70s, you know, even like just being part of that movement, and if you think, first of all, I don't even call myself gay anymore. I call myself homosexual, yes, gay, no, because gays for Palestine, even though it's even before this war. I mean, just the gay community doesn't represent me as an individual as much, even though, you know, marriage equality, yabba dabba do, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, yeah, they're so obnoxious. I live like not even a half a mile from West Hollywood. So during Gay Pride, it was like they're embarrassing the gays for Palestine. I would push them off a roof. I don't even need to send them there to get pushed off a roof.
I'll come with you.
Like, don't take away everything beautiful that we fought for. It's the same thing with the women's rights. Like the fact that they took away abortion rights, you know, taking away, that's why both parties can go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like comfortably in no man's land and fine.
Yeah.
If anywhere, I'm in like eternal Israel of some sort, you know?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. I don't resonate with anything going on in UK politics. The closest thing I have to resonating is the Reform Party. And even the Reform Party is so far right, and I'm not a far right individual. I'm a very free spirited, take each day as it comes kind of person. I'm the kind of person you would expect to be left, really left. Because I am such a free spirit, but I don't resonate with anything anymore.
Yeah, no, politics is a game that I think is lost all its, and the truth, Trump fucked that all up because he pulled the curtain line. It's like we're in the land of Oz, you know? It's like the curtain's been drawn. We see that they're all a bunch of crooks, incompetent crooks on both sides of the aisle. You know, maybe there's a few what you could say are stellar, but they didn't get there for not being a crook. You know what I mean? It's a crook's game.
It really is.
And the same in Israel. Like that fucking shit can take a hike too, bitch.
Yeah. Israeli politics. I mean, we think we've got it bad, and then you look at Israeli politics and you're like, oh, okay, fine. We're all right.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Well, look, you know, thank God we met. We have to be able to break bread in person one day.
Definitely.
And who knows, maybe it'll be next year in Jerusalem, whatever.
Or this year in Jerusalem.
Well, this year I'm going to this year is Jerusalem. I am fighting to get as many votes as I can for the Jewish future slate. And yeah, it's a good reason to be connected to my community.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when you're there, you have to tell me and I will come, because it is a short flight for me.
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't know the dates of when the thing is, but it is in October, so start.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Totally. Bye, darling. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lots of love. Bye.